Kevin Owens turns on Sami Zayn at WrestleMania 39, the best and worst of SmackDown. WWE protects Solo Sikoa's undefeated run. CM Punk sends a message to Rey Mysterio after WWE SmackDown. Rhea Ripley warns Rey Mysterio after his altercation with Dominic on WWE SmackDown. Brock Lesnar loses clean to Omos at WWE WrestleMania 39. Let's jump right into it. The best and worst of SmackDown. It was the penultimate episode of SmackDown before WrestleMania 39, and what a show it was. While there was no Roman Reigns, WWE did a good enough job of building up hype for the main event. How was this achieved? It was done by having Cody Rhodes in an excellent match against Ludwig Kaiser, who he defeated. Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman made their presence known, and Sikoa's recent temperament resulted in a match against the American Nightmare being made official for this Monday on Raw. But before we get to the final Raw before WrestleMania, let's look at what happened on SmackDown and what the ups and downs were. Number 3. Best, the Intercontinental title segment. Adam Pearce hosted a contract signing between the 3 participants of the Intercontinental title match at the Show of Shows: Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, and the record-breaking champion Gunther. While Gunther is yet to surpass Randy Savage and is a long way from the Honky Tonk Man's record reign with the Intercontinental title, he is the best champion of this lineage that we have seen in years, or decades, even. The contract signing segment was tense. It started with Drew McIntyre and Sheamus tensions and seemingly deteriorating friendship before the ring general came out and intimidated Adam Pearce for his decision to make the match a triple threat. Gunther even took a little jab at Butch, the man he defeated to become the NXT United Kingdom champion 4 years ago. He faced Butch on this week's SmackDown and defeated him, after which the chaos at ringside saw McIntyre take the champion out with a Claymore. Unfortunately, for McIntyre, he is the least likely to win the Intercontinental title. Sheamus has a reason because it's the only title he has yet to win, while Gunther continues to make history. Triple H has a tough decision to make. Number 2. Worst, the Charlotte Flair segment on SmackDown, building little hype for her match. If there was any doubt as to which match should headline WrestleMania 39 Night 1, look no further than the Charlotte Flair segment on SmackDown this week. There was no face-to-face with Rhea Ripley, which was alright considering it was the same for Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. However, minus name-dropping Sasha Banks and the Bella Twins, this segment was as forgettable as it gets. It was essentially a confirmation that WWE doesn't plan to have the SmackDown Women's title match headline Night 1, and it shouldn't because it is far from a hot storyline, unlike the one that is more likely to headline Night 1. Number 2. Best, the main event segment. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn vs. the Usos is by far the hottest story in WWE right now. Given the impact of the Bloodline and Sami Zayn, as well as Kevin Owens' involvement, this is by far the match that deserves the main event spot on the first night of WrestleMania. The KO show with Sami Zayn headlined SmackDown this week and did well in re-establishing the brotherly love that the two men share. The Usos attacked them and stood tall to get some heat at the end of the show, and it was a basic interaction that worked so well. Sometimes, sticking to the fundamentals works, and the end of SmackDown this week proved that. Number 1. Worst, the randomness in plans for Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey went from being rumored to facing Becky Lynch at WrestleMania to now being in an exhibition tag team match. Don't get us wrong, Rousey lost a lot of steam and a rumored injury derailed her momentum. To put you up to speed, Natalya and Shotzi qualified for the exhibition tag team match at WrestleMania on SmackDown. After that, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler returned to inform them and Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez that they were part of the match as well. But an exhibition tag team match for a star like Rousey, who is being paid in the 7-figure range, seems to be a bit of a bad return on investment. Hopefully, it's the start of a new run for her, and the positive is that at least she made it on the card this year. Number 1. Best, Rey Mysterio finally getting one over Dominic. The biggest pop of the night on SmackDown belonged to Rey Mysterio, who finally got one over his son Dominic. After Dom helped LA Knight defeat Rey Mysterio, he went on to insult his mother and sister who were sitting at ringside. This was the straw that broke the camel's back as Rey finally popped one on his son before accepting his challenge for WrestleMania 39. Twitter erupted in joy at the moment and broke out in yes chants. Dominic has been playing his role to near perfection, and it's incredible how a character adjustment can make a star level up. He did everything right and he is ready for the next big step after WrestleMania 39. WWE protects Solo Sikoa's undefeated run. As confirmed on WWE SmackDown, Cody Rhodes will take on Solo Sikoa on next week's Raw in a must-watch affair. Industry veteran Dutch Mantel reacted to the match and discussed the different ways WWE could book the finish. Despite suffering a few disqualification losses on the main roster, Solo Sikoa is yet to suffer a clean defeat and is amongst the most protected stars on the roster. However, that could all change when he faces Cody Rhodes on Monday Night Raw, as the American Nightmare needs to look strong ahead of his WrestleMania showdown against Roman Reigns. Speaking on the latest episode of Sports Sportskeeda's Smack Talk, Dutch Mantel stated that he loved how WWE has handled Cody Rhodes' push as the former AEW star has legitimately gotten over with the fans as a babyface. The legend noted that WWE has multiple creative options to choose from for the American Nightmares match against Solo, which could ideally also protect the latter from losing his momentum. The former WWE manager said that a simple run-in from the Usos and a possible attack from Roman Reigns would be the perfect way to book the finish of Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. They are really handling Cody well. This is how you get over, because you've got to get that creative behind you. You've got to get the booking team behind you. And next week, if he meets Solo, there are a lot of different finishes. He can beat Solo, or you can run the two Usos in trying to get Cody, and Cody runs out, and here comes Roman from behind, and they beat the living CP out of him. But there are a lot of ways to get around it, Mantel said. One of the fundamental ways to build up a fighting babyface is to have them get battered by the heel. In Cody Rhodes' case, he's yet to take a sound beating at the hands of the Bloodline, as he's thus far gotten the better of the faction. Dutch Mantel foresaw Rhodes getting the dog CRP beaten out of him before he reaches WrestleMania, as that would get him more traction as a babyface before the biggest match of his career. Next week's Raw might be the best place to have the beatdown angle, as the legend added during the same episode of Smack Talk. I don't think Cody has had the dog CRP beat out of him, and I think it's coming. It may come on Raw. It may come on SmackDown. I would rather have it on Raw because now he has a week to recover. SmackDown, what is it? 1 day, 2 days. Solo Sikoa has been at loggerheads with Rhodes for some time, but things escalated when the American Nightmare stated that the former is not ready yet and proceeded to block his attempts at a Samoan spike. It remains to be seen how the match will shape up next week. Do you see Cody Rhodes getting a clean victory over Solo Sikoa on Raw? Share your predictions in the comments section below. CM Punk sends a message to Rey Mysterio after WWE SmackDown. CM Punk had quite an interesting reaction to Rey Mysterio finally snapping over his son Dominic on SmackDown. Dominic came face-to-face with his mom and sister on tonight's edition of WWE SmackDown. He referred to his mom as a deadbeat and berated his sister, Alia, as well. This was enough for Mysterio to finally attack his son. Rey knocked his son to the floor and accepted his challenge for a match at WrestleMania 39. Mysterio later shared a picture of the tense moment on his Instagram handle. The picture received a response from none other than former WWE champion CM Punk. Here's what he said: "Good for you, Rey. I've wanted to punch him for 13 years." Fans flocked to Punk's response with hilarious reactions to his message directed at Mysterio. Punk recently made news for taking shots at Tony Khan, AEW, Chris Jericho, and Jon Moxley on his Instagram story. Judging by his comments, it seems highly unlikely that fans will ever get to see him back in an AEW ring. Punk and Mysterio aren't exactly strangers. Back in 2010, Punk and Mysterio engaged in a heated feud on WWE SmackDown, which led to a singles match at WrestleMania 26 that Rey won. The duo met once again at Extreme Rules 2010, with Punk's hair on the line. He picked up a win this time around, thus saving himself from being forced to go bald. Things didn't end well for him when he met Mysterio once again at Over the Limit 2010. At the event, Punk lost to Mysterio and was then forced to shave his head bald. Rey Mysterio is hell-bent on disciplining his son at the show of shows. Dominic would love to put his father down at Mania in what would be the biggest win of his career so far. Share your reactions to CM Punk's remarks in the comments section below. Rhea Ripley warns Rey Mysterio after his altercation with Dominic on WWE SmackDown. WWE superstar Rhea Ripley recently warned Rey Mysterio after the latter hit his son Dominic Mysterio on SmackDown. On the most recent episode of Friday Night SmackDown, Rey faced LA Knight in a singles match. Knight was able to win the match by rolling Mysterio after Dominic interfered. Following the match, Dominic yelled at his mother and sister and was thus punched in the face by Rey. Taking to social media, the Eradicator came out in support of Judgment Day member Dominic Mysterio as she sent out a stern warning to Rey. Ripley wrote, "At WrestleMania you better bring it 619 AM Lucha because prison at Dominic 35 is on a different level." Former WWE head writer Vince Russo recently spoke about how the company buried Ripley. While speaking on Sportskeeda Wrestling's Legion of Raw, Russo recalled the Eradicator's promo. He mentioned it was one of the reasons that buried Ripley's character and seemed repetitive as well. He detailed, "First of all, she's already cut this promo. We've heard this promo week before. Bro, she got lost a couple of times. She lost her train of thoughts and it was bad. This did not help Rhea Ripley at all. Bro, think about this. This promo does not help her. It was repetitive." He further criticized Ripley's segment with Bayley on Raw as he spoke about how it affected the Eradicator's gimmick. "She's going 50-50 with Bayley. Bayley comes coming across the ring with a big knee to Rhea Ripley, clearly slaps the thigh. Then they do it in slow motion and it looks like this. I am watching this, I was like, are you guys freaking kidding me? Do we really want to show Bayley slapping her thigh in slow motion? This is how you kill Rhea Ripley. Ripley should not be going 50-50 with Bayley. I am sorry, bro." Dominic Mysterio will face his father Rey Mysterio at the upcoming WrestleMania 39 Premium Live event. Brock Lesnar loses clean to Omos at WWE WrestleMania 39. Former multi-time world champion Brock Lesnar is set to go one-on-one against Omos at WrestleMania 39. On paper, Omos isn't a very strong contender to defeat the Beast Incarnate. However, certain backstage reasons might lead to Lesnar losing clean to Omos. Brock Lesnar vs. Omos is one of the most unexpected matches scheduled for this year's WrestleMania. Being one of the biggest stars in the company, fans were expecting Lesnar to have a match against a popular star like Bobby Lashley, Gunther, or even Bray Wyatt. However, WWE surprised everyone by booking Omos against the former Universal Champion. There is also a lot of speculation about whether this could be Brock Lesnar's last WWE match. According to a report by Zero News, Lesnar is looking to sign one last contract with WWE for 1 year, 5 matches. The report states that if Lesnar decides against re-signing with WWE, he might lose clean to Omos at WrestleMania 39. However, if he decides to sign another contract, he will win. Brock Lesnar looking to sign 1-year deal to WM40. 5 matches. Last contract with WWE. If Lesnar decided against signing a new deal, he'd be losing clean to Omos at Mania next weekend. If he wins, he's signed, reported Zero News. Fans are divided in their opinion about the upcoming Brock Lesnar vs. Omos match at WrestleMania 39. While the prospect of 2 giant heavyweights clashing at WrestleMania sounds interesting, Omos hasn't proven himself as an in-ring competitor. However, WWE Hall of Famer Road Dogg is interested in seeing this match. On the latest episode of Oh, You Didn't Know podcast, Road Dogg revealed his excitement for the match. However, he also wondered if Lesnar could lose his cool during the match and legitimately unleash his rage on Omos. I want to watch this one too, for a couple of different reasons. 1, I also don't know the finish here just because of the scenarios and how it goes. So, I don't know what happens here. I'm interested to see. I'm also interested to see if Brock gets angry, shoots behind him, and even dumps him on his head a couple of times. There is a lot of potential for that, and I want to see if that happens and if it can happen and how it looks when it does. And I pray for everyone's health. Dave Meltzer recently reported that Brock Lesnar's WWE future is being kept a top secret backstage. Only a select few like Triple H, Vince McMahon, Nick Khan, and a few others know the reality. Do you think the Beast Incarnate will sign a new deal with the company, or will WrestleMania 39 be his last WWE match? 5 finishes to the Usos vs. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the WWE Undisputed Tag Team titles at WrestleMania 39. In one of the most anticipated matches at WWE's biggest event of the year, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens will look to dethrone the current reigning undisputed tag team title holders, the Usos, in what's sure to go down as a classic. It's been a wild ride of ups, downs, twists, and turns. Now this emotional roller coaster is making its way to WrestleMania 39. Will the match itself feature more surprises, or will WWE take a straight and narrow approach instead? Below are 5 possible finishes to the Usos vs. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens at the grandest stage of them all. Number 5. Jey Uso gets conflicted and costs his team the match. Jey Uso might be content with his decision to side with his brother, Jimmy Uso, and the rest of the Bloodline, but if you've been paying attention to his promos, it doesn't sound like he wanted things to transpire the way they did. It would seem that this isn't the case of betrayal by design, and Jey was contemplating whether he should betray Sami Zayn or side with his family. Maybe somewhere, there's still some love for his former partner. Perhaps this hidden compassion makes Jey stop for a quick second, and the slight hesitation costs him and his brother Jimmy the match. Number 4. A hell of a kick into a KO stunner on Jey for the win. Sometimes a wrestling match draws interest for not knowing who is going to win. Other times, the outcome is a sure thing, and the ride to get there is what elicits the intrigue. In this case, it's the latter for most. The story of the Usos vs. Zayn and Owens has been what many perceive to be the best angle in WWE at the moment. The twists and turns, the emotion, and the relatability are all key components of what's making this angle such a hit. With all that said, a rather predictable finish may serve as the icing on the cake. Zayn and the prizefighter are the favorites going into the match. At this point, many fans just want to see the two get their WrestleMania moment, regardless of the finish. Number 3. Solo Sikoa costs Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn the match. If you've been following the story, history shows it's not out of character for the Bloodline to use the numbers game to their advantage. The enforcer of the Bloodline has played a role in several of his Bloodline cohorts matches in the past, and if WWE doesn't want the Usos' historic title reign to come to a screeching halt just yet, this may be the way they go about it. Sami and Owens should usher in a new era for the future of the men's tag team division, and therefore, if for whatever reason WWE doesn't want to pull the plug just yet, they could have the best friends save face by having Solo deliver a Samoan spike whilst the ref is looking elsewhere. Number 2. Solo Sikoa costs the Usos the WWE tag team titles. In what could be perceived as poetic justice, Solo Sikoa could alternatively end up costing his Bloodline brethren the match. One way is the more traditional route where Solo attempts to get the Usos disqualified, thus saving the titles only to find out that Owens and Zayn are one step ahead. They duck, Sikoa hits Jay, Jimmy looks concerned and confused, and Owens, Zayn capitalizes. Later that, Jay starts rethinking whether he made the right choice mid-match. This sign of weakness may make Sikoa question Uso, which consequently leads to a confrontation between the two. While the two are arguing, Team KO, Zayn could pin a distracted Use. Number 1. Kevin Owens turns on Sami Zayn and the Usos retain. If this were to happen, a couple of things would be made very apparent on WWE's grandest stage. For starters, the company is dead set on this match being the biggest swerve job in the promotion's history. And secondly, WWE is out here pushing for Kevin Owens to be the most hated man in pro wrestling. As controversial as this decision would be, Owens would have somewhat of a legitimate reason. The Bloodline put KO through a lot of pain and agony these past few months, and Sami was right there by their side for the most part. The prizefighter tried to get through to Zayn that Roman Reigns and his henchmen were his real friends on multiple occasions, but he still persisted. Zayn's loyalty to the Bloodline earned KO a swift kick in his manhood, a hell of a kick to the face inside War Games, and several beatdowns, including the one he suffered at this year's Royal Rumble. Has all that been forgiven? Well, it's pro wrestling, so chances are the answer is probably so. But could you imagine if it wasn't?
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me